noise!
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkandstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy. What do you think? What do you think it is about Long Beach that's produced so many, hot musicians and rappers and everything?
Years ago, there was like bands. Long Beach had quite a few bands, and everybody was in their garages trying to get famous or whatever. And LA was full of bands. So when we finally thought we were good enough to go to LA, because LA had a lot of bands that was coming from the East Coast, but Long Beach had, I don't know, it was. We just figured that we probably had just as good a chance as anybody else, because War came out of Long Beach and they did good, but the rap thing, I don't know. I'm not sure how that started, but there was a lot of great rappers in Long Beach, because at one time I was producing a lot of rap stuff. And these guys, man, some of these guys had never been heard of, but they were great. They just didn't get a break. Long Beach has there's a lot of vocalists around Long Beach now, that trying to make it or whatever. But I don't know what it was. It was just there was just a lot of music in Long Beach for some reason back then.
What do you think it was about that second record that didn't click like the first one in terms of radio play and sales and all that?
I think really there was some hotter songs on that second album, I think, than the first one. But A&M just didn't get behind it the way they did the first one. I guess they thought that it would basically sell itself. And another thing that hurt us, we never did get a chance to do a video. And I think that's what kind of slowed down the momentum. We didn't get a video. I think that would have changed some things if we had but we got to do Soul Train and all of that, which was great, and that kind of pumped up everything too. But we didn't get to do Soul Train for the second album.
How did it feel for you doing Soul Train the first time?
A dream come true. And that's all we used to talk about when we first started our band in junior high school, being on Soul Train. But we didn't ever think we'd actually be on there, And I remember the first day the manager came to our rehearsal and told us we're getting ready to do Soul Train. We was like, what? It was just unbelievable. That was like it, for us when we were putting the band together, man. That was like the final frontier, Soul Train. So yeah, it was great. It was just unbelievable.
What was Donnie? What is and what was Donnie Sterling like in terms of his musicality and also as a guy?
Man, he always could catch on the music real quick. He was a great musician, and he started playing guitar when we first started our band. We had 2 guitar players and a drummer and me. And we didn't even know that a band's supposed to have a bass player. we had two guitar players. So somebody told us one day, they said, man, you guys ain't got a bass player? We're like, no. We said, for what? They said, you have to have a bass player. So we were going to so we went and told Donnie and Jimmy, the guitar player, we said, look, man, we need a bass. So one of you guys got to go, and we're going to keep the strongest guitar player, which was Jimmy, you know. So Donnie didn't want to leave the group. So he took two strings off of his guitar and turned it into a bass and started playing it like that. And we kept him in the band until his daddy bought him a real bass. And then he just learned that bass like it was a rap. He stayed in the band. You know, that's how he started playing bass. But as a person, he's a great person. We're real laid back, you know, kind of quiet, you know, and great singer. He can sing. You know, he was singing like that when he was in high school. And that's where that's Donnie. He just always been an innovator. And he learned how to program and all this stuff before any of us did. I used to write songs, and I needed him to program my drums because I didn't know how to program the drums yet. And he knew how to do all of that stuff already. But he's good at what he does, you know.
Did you get to hang out in the studio at all when, you know, George and P-Funk was laying down any of their stuff in the late 70s or early 80s?
In the 80s, I went to, I think, one or two sessions maybe, you know, when they were recording. But they recorded like days and days and days in, you know, just all night for days. You know, they would record stuff. A lot of the stuff they record, they don't even use. You know, they're constantly recording songs and writing songs. So they have a whole lot of stuff to choose from. But they would just create right on the spot in the studio. Nothing was planned. Nothing was planned out. They just go in there and just create from scratch. Somebody would start playing a beat or somebody would start playing a rhythm. And that's how they would do it. And if a drummer wasn't in the studio when they started creating, George would run outside and ask anybody walking past the studio, can they play drums? And some of these kind of people came in and just laid down the drums and left. You know? So that's why on the credits, some of the credits is inaccurate, you know, some of those parts, but you don't know who played what. Donnie played drums on a lot of those songs. You know, and he wasn't really a drummer, but he could play the drums in the studio. He knew how to lock the pocket. So yeah, that's just how things were getting done back then. It's a little different now. You know.
Back in the day, you know, when you guys had your A&M deal, was there one particular concert or show that really stands out to you for some reason?
A show that we did?
Yeah, Kiddo.
I think the Beverly Theater was one because Prince came to the show. He came to one of those shows there at the Beverly. We did two. And we only got to play one night. We played one night, and then George played the second night by himself, I think. But one of the most memorable shows that we did, I think, was at the Palace up in Hollywood. Palace everything just went right that night. There wasn't no sound problems or nothing. I think that was memorable. Oh, and playing Grambling was a big deal for us.
Was that just you or on a bill with others?
No, it was just Kiddo. It was just a Kiddo tour. Just us only. And it was for Old English 800 malt liquor. And they had their truck and all the Old English banners and neon lights and all of this stuff for the tour. Yeah. You know, but I heard that there was a lot of groups that were doing that tour. Shalimar and a couple other people had did it before. Yeah.
I saw a lot of good shows at the Palace. Didn't see that one though. Too bad.
Yeah, we were there. One Way, that's who we were there with at the Palace.
Ah, One Way. Very cool.
That's who we did some shows with, One Way, in San Jose and a couple other places. Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
think
that was
Do you think, Arthur, part of the reason that Kiddo lost favor with A&M was just because of the way music was going then? I mean, funk was kind of getting pushed aside, and more like contemporary R&B was coming up, and all that kind of stuff.
we got caught like right in the middle of when funk was on the way out. Bands like Slave and all these groups with these horn section stuff, because that's who we were when we first got heard. But this new wave and punk stuff was coming out, and they wanted us to sound like a lot of that, like Kraftwerk, and they had a vision of what they wanted it for. Then they would change. They say, well, no, man, we want you guys to sound more like Morris Day and the Time. Because a lot of people looked at that album cover and said, man, you guys look like Morris Day and the Time. It was like, no. But yeah, I think the change of music we just got caught in the middle of it, and A&M didn't really know if they wanted us to be a funk band or be a punk funk band or a new wave band, but we did all of it. And a matter of fact, we got the record deal with the song Susie. That's what got us signed. Susie's Gone on that Kiddo album. So I don't know.
Yeah, but shortly after you guys were gone, Janet Jackson kind of owned that whole thing with A&M.
Yeah, because she was there when we were there. She was there, and she was me and Donna used to buy her candy bars out of the vending machine there on the lot. Up over there, the records, as a matter of fact. Because they were there. Oh, and Atlantic Star was there.
Was the Brothers Johnson still there?
Yep. They were still there, too. LTD was still there.
Mm-hmm.
And Sting and the Police had just got there. And they was running things over there. They were hot. They was hot in '83. The Carpenters were still there and all of this. Sticks. There was a lot of groups there then when we were there. So.
Did you do any shows with or meet the Brothers Johnson, George and Lewis at all?
Not with Kiddo, no. No. I got a chance to meet them. We did a show with them in Hawaii, but that was with Rolls Royce.
So,
Yeah.
so when Kiddo lost their deal, how did you guys take the news, and what was your first action after that?
It was bad because we knew a lot of people that worked up there. It was like Tom Vickers was still there. So, I'd go up there to see him sometime, and this girl named Angie that worked there, they used to give us free albums and all this stuff all the time. And they would still let us on the lot. But I'll never forget the day I went up there and they wouldn't let me on the lot anymore. That's when I knew that it was completely over. The girl was like, hey, man, I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, it's easy for situations to change, man, like overnight. It could change and you could be here today and just, may I help you tomorrow? So yeah, after that, but luckily for me, I got another gig right after that. Because the band just got so frustrated, man, and disappointed about that whole thing, man. The band just disbanded, saying we need to get away from each other for a while or something, and figure this out. So I didn't know what I was going to do because I had never played with nobody else. Nobody in our group had ever played with anybody except each other. So to step outside of that was like a no-no, But after it wasn't a band anymore, I didn't know what I was going to do. I really didn't until I got the offer to do that, the other gig. The gig.
So how long were you playing with Rolls Royce?
almost 19 years.
Wow.
Yep. From '84, I think the last gig I did with them was like 2006 or something like that.
Wow. So
They,
who was still in the group from, their heyday of the late 70s when you were in there?
Kenny Copeland, the one that sings "I Want to Get Next to You," he's the band leader. He's still there. The trumpet player Freddie Dunn is still there. The drummer Henry Gardner is still there, and Michael Nash. The four of them are original.
What was it like playing their material? Was it challenging or different much from Kiddo?
Uh, no, because before we became Kiddo, we were doing a couple of Rolls Royce songs in our nightclub show. We were doing "I Want to Get Next to You" and "Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is," Car Wash. So I already knew them songs, you know. So we, because they were popular, so it was different from what we were playing. But we were playing everything before we became Kiddo. We were doing OJs, dramatics, everything,
How would you describe your style, Arthur? I mean, do you feel like you're more of an accompanist, or do you like taking solos, or you like coloring with textures, or how would you describe your style?
I like, I really love playing ballads. I really like playing ballads, and a lot of people don't know that because I love funk. I love funk and ballads, and I think that's what I gravitate to. So I think and lately I've been playing smooth jazz like stuff. I've started writing some of that stuff too. But ballads and funk is I think that's my thing. Yeah,
I like those ballads that somehow have a flavor or feel that ties and connects to funk. I'm not sure what it is, but there's certain ballads, that somehow seem deeper to me and somehow conjure the same kind of feeling I get from good funk.
right.
I'm thinking of ballads by, the kind of ballads like Cameo or Confunction or the Ohio Players, some of the Earth, Wind, and
Yes.
Fire, they tap into that same kind of deep soul that just moves you.
Yeah, I love Confunction ballad. Man, that Confunction, yeah. Yeah, Confunction ballad. Let me put love on your mind.
Ah,
Them kind
awesome.
of stories.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Rolls Royce, so you mentioned "Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is." That was my favorite car wash track. And if
What is
if it makes you feel like
it?
dancing, if it makes you feel like
Yeah,
dancing, that is to me their best funk jam.
yeah, yeah. And we always save that for last, just before car wash. Yeah, 'cause that's a
Yeah,
funky song.
19
Yeah,
years.
that
Wow.
was
So did you play with anybody else also during that time, or the other people you played with came after that?
everybody else came after that. Well, no, at the time I was at Rolls Royce, I actually did a couple of dates with Miki Howard during that time, and we were on our downtime. And Hank Ballard in the Midnight. I was with him for about a year during that time.
Wow. There's an
Yeah,
old school legend.
that was as old school as you can get. Some of the shows that we did with the Skyliners and the Ink Spots and the Drifters and Flamingos, I didn't ever think I would ever see any of these kind of people. They were on the shows with us. It was different, and it was a lot easier to play. That's just blues stuff, man. So it was fun. It was great.
And what can you tell us about Mickey as a singer?
Great, great singer, really great. And we had the band. Actually, we had a Raymond Calhoun Gap Band's drummer was playing with us. Also, and stuff, and a couple other guys and stuff, that I knew. But I only did like one or two dates with her. We did a lot of rehearsals, and stuff, and it was good. She's talented. And she has some great songs, complicated songs to play. And all these string arrangements, because I was playing all the strings. They had somebody else that was doing all the piano. And the guy that was doing the piano was a monster, you know. But I was doing all the string stuff and synth stuff like that.
I remember I interviewed her back in around 1990, and I haven't talked to her since then.
Yeah, she's a little different. She's great. She's a great singer. But she's real demanding at rehearsals.
Hmm.
We want stuff to be what it's supposed to be.
So I'm going to talk about some of these other people that I mentioned at the outset, and you tell us what your experience was with them, if you would, Arthur. Like,
Hmm.
Choc'Let. What did you do with her?
We got a band, and we were doing a couple of funk fest and stuff like that with her, and her show consisted of like a combination of Sly Stone and Grand Central Station stuff. That's what we were doing with her, and she's nice. She's nice. She's great. She's professional, and she's real easy to work with. Real easy. I played with her. Well, I think the last time I played with her might have been 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that.
Well, I mean, I'm such a big fan of the music that she did, but also that she's been such an advocate for the funk just for all these decades.
She is. And she still has her funk box too. Still got it going.
I had her on the show, and when I talked to her on the phone, it was just such a kick for me to just hear her say chocolate like directly to me after listening to it on record, all that time. That was really cool.
Yeah, I mean she's fun.
So, what about Slave?
Slave, I hooked up with the bass player's son is playing bass with them now. And this girl I knew had met him, and he had came out here to California to find a couple of more players, for the band and stuff. And the girl introduced me to him. And so we hooked up. And then he ended up going back home. Well, we did a show. We did the Funk Fest out here in Orange County Funk Fest in 2017. And then we did one, I think, 2016. And then we went to Oakland and did a show up there with In Vogue up in Oakland. And but the whole band now is all from Ohio except for me. I was the only one that was from out here that ended up in Cleveland. And whenever they come out, I hook up and rehearse with them. I have them rehearse with them, and then we do the shows.
How was it playing tracks like Slide, and did you do
Man,
Stellar Funk?
yeah, we did Stellar, but mine was a Sizzling Hot was my favorite.
Hmm.
We opened the show with Sizzling Hot, and we do Wait for Me and all of those songs, everything. Weak at the Knees. I loved all of that. I remember them songs years ago. Yeah, I really love playing with them.
Yeah.
But everything's down now, so everything has came to a standstill.
Well, it's great that they're continuing to, get that music out there when they're able to now. Hopefully they will again, but,
Yeah.
Keep it
Oh,
alive
yeah.
because so many, the members of that band, we lost too early. So,
Right, including the bass player's father.
yeah, Mark Adams.
Yeah, great band.
Yeah. And you also played with New Birth?
Yeah, I did a show with New Birth at the Nokia Theater up in LA about 5 years ago. So then we had to rehearse with them, and I told the lead singer, I said, "Man, I went and seen y'all at the Long Beach Arena." Me and the whole band, as a matter of fact. We were all young men, and yeah, man, I didn't ever think, that I'd be doing that with them, but that was great. That was a great experience. And Rolls Royce was on the show. Rolls Royce and Tierra was on the show, and that was funny because I was backstage and Rolls Royce didn't know that I was on the show. You know, when they ran into me backstage, they're like, "Man, what you doing back here, man? How did you get in here?" I said, "I'm on the show." They were shocked. It was funny. We had fun, and they put it down as usual. Rolls Royce puts it down.
How can you stop playing with that band with Rolls Royce?
I had got sick, and I was in the hospital for like a month in 2006. And after I got out, they were afraid to take me back on the road because they didn't know if I was gonna have any problem or anything because I had blood clots in my head. And they were afraid to take me back out because they didn't think I could fly and all of this stuff, you know. And so I had to do a session up north to prove to them that I could still fly. So after that, they hired me for a couple other gigs here and there, but they had already replaced me. Because when I got sick, there was 3 concerts that I missed. And they didn't have, at that time, they didn't have any backup for anything. So, you know, I was going to still try to do the concerts until they kept me at the hospital. And then I had to call them and tell them I couldn't do those gigs. You know, they wouldn't let me out. But yeah, that's how I ended up. You know, but I'm still friends with him and stuff. I talk to Kenny almost every day. He calls me the leader, you know. We kick in on recording stuff, you know. They're working on some new stuff also that I'm involved in recording.
Cool. They've certainly had a turbulent history.
Oh, yes. Real special.
Yeah. But still rolling, man, you know?
Yeah, they still killing it out there. They ain't taking no prisoners. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at first when I heard Car Wash going way back, and I was thinking maybe they were like a novelty act, but then when they came with that second album, I knew right away they were serious.
Yeah. Everything. For a minute, everything they did, because they had came to see us when we were still playing nightclubs, Kiddo. And I remember 3 of them came down, and they had just blew up. They had just, in full bloom, I think it just came out.
Yeah.
And Michael Nunes came, and Kenny and I think the drummer, and they all had on their 3-piece suits. And they came down to the club, and we did I Want to Get Next to You, because we had choreography, what hours and stuff we had, you know. And they were kind of shocked, you know, that because Michael Nash had been telling about Above and Beyond, you know, but that's where he came from too. They wanted to come and see us. We did that, and we did Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is. So I had met them before we actually, you know, did anything. But they were a great band to work with, you know, and whenever they need me, I still gig with them. So I still got the song list and all of that, just in case they call me. Because occasionally they do, you know, they'll call me. But
So how'd you end up getting involved with some of the rap guys?
I was just doing nothing but R&B and stuff like that, and I started making tracks for some local rappers that was in my house. You know, because they wanted a track, and their stuff was a little simpler. There's no changes, no bridges, just a loop basically. So I started dibbling and dabbling with that, and then I started getting kind of good at that, and so they started bringing other rappers to my house, and they brought other rappers to the house, and I started working with this one guy named Radio that was really good, and he had got signed with Interscope for a minute, but him and Tupac both got signed around the same time, and they put all of their money on Tupac, so he kind of just faded out, and we were still recording with this manager he had his own label, so we had Snoop Dogg, you know, agreed to do an intro on the album and stuff for us and stuff. And he came down there and he did his little talking intro thing. He didn't really rap on it. You know, he just did what he does, you know. There's a big Snoop Dogg, you know, and stuff like that. So we started having a lot of cats like Dub C and all these other rappers on stuff. And and I had a chance to do. I had a chance to sing background on one of Ice Cube's songs, "How to Survive in South Central." So it was me and the two girls from the Brides, Funkadelic. We did the background on that song, the three of us, because that was on the Boys in the Hood movie soundtrack. In fact, it was the title track, I think, for that soundtrack. Yeah, so that's how I ended up getting involved in rap stuff, kind of.
I had Val
Yeah.
Young on recently, and she was talking about singing on all this hip hop stuff, and it sounded like, after doing all the funk and everything, it's really kind of easy to do,
Oh, it's
because
really, yes, yes, it was. We called it easy money back then, because you didn't really, nothing was elaborate, and but a lot of the stuff is unorthodox because some of the samples and stuff that they use and stuff ain't even in the key of the record. And I'm trying to keep everything politically correct. Oh man, but this is hip hop, man. It don't matter. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the right key. You got this part playing, but that's hip hop, and they taught me. You know, it's basically, it's almost like funk. It's almost like anything goes, whatever you feel. You know, but yeah, I had fun doing it. I still do rap tracks for some people sometimes.
you mentioned about just loving ballads and funk. What was it about funk that, you know, does it for you? What is it about that style that just does it?
The first time I heard Sly and the Family Stone do "Thank You," it was just, that was it. It was just that bass line, that dun, 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 dun. It was just, I don't know. It just makes you feel a different kind of way. It makes you want to play that. It was. I don't know. It just made me feel. It, it's to me, it's like you playing something that's just an extension of your soul. The primitive side of your music or whatever. You want to call it. That's what it was to me.
Yeah, that track was revolutionary for sure.
Oh man, when I heard that, and then I got a chance to do it with Choc'Let, and that made it better. Yes, it did. Yeah,
When you
yeah,
did it with
man.
her, did you do the any of the bass part, or you stuck to the accompanying that?
Oh no, we had a bass player that was handling that.
Yeah,
And well, I was just doing the clarinet and organs.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Arthur. What are you doing? You mentioned that you're doing some smooth jazz. You're working on your own thing, and how's that progressing? And when might we hear something? And
Oh, I figure by the summer I should be finished. Maybe before then. Maybe a couple of months before then. But yeah, I should be finished by then because everything kind of slowed down right now. So probably for the summer, spring, or whatever.
is it kind of
Yeah.
is it a one man band kind of thing, or you got some collaborators?
I got a couple of collaborators. I'm working on a new song for Kiddo, also a single for Kiddo, and Donnie is writing the lyrics for that right now. And I did the tracks, and I'm working on some smooth jazz stuff that I did, and I'm doing a ballad um, EP that's gonna be all love songs and ballads and stuff. It's called Bedtime Stories. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm in the process of right now.
Definitely would love to hear a Kiddo single. I had gone back and looked at on YouTube. You guys had some shows on there that were as recent as just a couple of years ago, and
Yeah, we're doing a couple of things,
yeah,
and we were about to do the big Funk Fest in Orange County until the COVID shut it down. We were already booked, and it just went away. But I'm still in touch with the promoter stuff. So when it does come back, we'll be on there.
One of those shows I saw, I mean, you guys were doing like a whole bunch of P-Funk tracks, you know?
Yeah, man. This place we play, a lot of these promoters, they try to dictate what songs that they want to hear. That's in the show, and it ain't always, because we're not P-Funk. We're, but they wanted to hear this, and they wanted a couple of the Brides of Funkenstein songs. I'm like, we don't even have any females in the group. Why would you want us to do this? So it was just insane. It wasn't a good thing. We used to do it our Kiddo show, and that's what we do, and so we're back to that now. We stopped that P-Funk, but we're not P-Funk, even though we were associated and Donnie wrote some of the songs. Now I'm always doing the songs that Donnie wrote, like Agony of Defeat, Big Bang Theory. We could do those because it makes sense, but all the other stuff, no.
How can people best keep up with you and find out when you have something new coming?
Well, basically, normally I post stuff on my Facebook page or my I guess it's a Facebook artist page, Arthur B. Brown Facebook, and I post stuff on there too. The up and coming shows or whatever. That way. And my Facebook is Arthur B. Brown also.
What's the B stand for?
Excuse me?
What does the B stand for?
Burn in it. So they call me AB. That's my nickname. That's what everybody basically calls me. So I'm AB. So that's what they, that's how they can find out easily. Because I normally post everything that I'm doing on there.
All right. Well, definitely keep an ear and eye out, and stay safe. Arthur, really been cool talking to you, and thank you for sharing those stories. And
Yeah, anytime. Anytime.
All right, man. You take good care.
Okay, man. You too, man. Thanks a lot.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.